Well, howdy everybody out there in YouTube land. This is amateur artist Mark D. Chandler once again from Man Land. And today's video, can you cook a pizza inside that Stanley Adventure Camp Cook set? Well, we're about to find out. Especially when you have pizzas like this. A 3-pack. And what's nice, it fits inside the Stanley. About the size of a sweet roll. Yeah. We got ourselves a little pine fire going, and there's the Stanley Adventure Camp Cook set sitting there on the left on top of brick. And that's not there just to be heating up right now. I'm actually trying to get it in frame to give you an idea of the size of the fire. Not necessarily the flames, just the size of the fire. I'm letting these things here burn down to kind of like coals, and we're going to attempt to cook that pizza inside that there Stanley. Yeah, I've done this on a test there in the kitchen on top of a gas range, and it actually worked very well. The only thing I made a mistake on it was I left it on the eye just a little too long, and I kind of burnt the bottom of the pizza just a bit, even in that little test. So I'm going to pay attention to it this time to make sure I get it right, to show you that it is possible to actually cook a pizza right there on that campfire using pine wood, because we're not cooking directly over the flames, or our food is not going to be directly over any top of the wood. We're just using that wood as a heat source. We're cooking inside a canister, so we won't have all that pine taste and smell. Had a little bit of time right there next to the fire. My Stanley's pretty daggone warm already, but I didn't want to start cooking just yet. I wanted to just show y'all the Stanley itself. Now this lid is not the original lid for the Stanley. This is one I've had since I bought this particular Stanley Adventure shell of a cook shed. This right here is actually the shell of the Stanley Adventure cook shed. I did it again. This right here is actually the pot, and it did not come with a lid or either of the two fabulous green cups. I bought it at a thrift store, and I had to make myself an improvised lid. Now I've got some Stanleys there inside the house that actually does have the lid, you know, the one with the green tab and the vent holes, but I've been using this forever, and this is going to be perfect for the baking process. Let me show you what's inside the Stanley here. We've got another container. This right here is a piece of stainless steel, and what this right here is, well, it's got the pizza in it. Hold on. Trying to make this thing as short as I possibly can. Got bad shadows, the sun's about to go down. I've actually got that pizza inside that little pot there, and that's what it looks like. It's a bowl shape, a deep crust, and all the goodies is recessed there within. And inside I've got some little pat of butter. We're going to put this thing inside the stand and warm everything up. But what this right here is a stainless steel piece of, when it goes to a burner set, and well, let me stick this back in there. There's a part that goes on top and you seal it, and you're supposed to be able to adjust the flame. It's part of a burner. But I didn't want to use this to actually be burning anything in, because I wanted to use it to be cooking in, which I've been doing from time to time there with this particular set. And it seems to work pretty daggum good. Now my lid and everything fits on there really nice and flat, and what's nice about it is I can actually put coals on top of this without worrying about melting that green tab. Now I don't have a ring to lift it off, but this particular piece of metal, it cools down very fast. So I'm just going to set this Stanley right here next to the fire, make sure it's stable, and we're going to melt that butter just inside that little stainless steel insert that's in there. That's what I use to make cornbread, like a cornbread muffin, that type of thing, maybe even a biscuit. I've actually done some bannock in there too. Well, here we go, folks. That butter inside there has actually melted very, very well, and I'm going to take these right here and just kind of spread them out a bit. Now, when I cook this, if I even hear the butter actually sizzling in there, it may have got a little too hot. I had a small flame on that gas range, and that's the thing that I'm a little concerned about here. I'm digging out a little extra spot here because I want to make sure this Stanley is really stable. And Reese is in the background having a fit, just barking and having fun. Let's see how this right here works. Yeah, I think that does pretty good. And we don't really want too much heat on here because we don't want to burn the pizza. And, well, let me get the pizza in there. Yeah, I can hear the butter sizzling. Wow, Reese is on down the road like quick. He just loves to bark and bark and bark. Yeah, butter's actually starting to get a little brown in there, and that's something we don't want, because butter burns. I mean, everybody knows that. Too high of a temperature. But I've got the pizza wrapped inside this here paper towel for this demonstration. There we go. There's that Red Baron pizza. Whew, and it's kind of hot. Plopped it in there. Get that little piece of pepperoni back where it belongs. Starting to sizzle instantly. Let me move it out of the flame here. A lot easier to work with outside the fire. Try to get it as centered as possible, and let's get this thing to baking. See, the top is cooled down already. But that Stanley, yeah, that Stanley's pretty daggone warm. And I would say in about roughly 5 to 15 minutes. You know why I say that? Because I have no idea. Campfire cooking is never the same. Now here's one of the advantages I like of having this this particular lid, which came off a candle container. You know, the glass jars that has that scented candle in there. These are normally the lids, and they have that rubber ring in there. Well, I peeled it off. It happened to fit my Stanley, and I've been using this thing here ever since. But the reason why I like this, because there's no holes pre-drilled in it. Of course, it doesn't have a tab. I would like to do that, but I just never got around to it. I've always found a way to work around it, like using this right here to actually lift it. But it holds coals on top, and that is definitely a plus. Oh, knocked it off. Well, it's kind of working like a Dutch oven, and that's why I like the versatility of the Stanley Adventure Camp Cook Set, especially when you mod it out in the way that I've modded mine. Ladies and gentlemen, what we're doing here is we're using a simple campfire, and this particular campfire is actually cooking in reverse. It's kind of like an earthen oven. When you put all the fire inside your earthen oven and you're heating it up, well, as it starts to burn down the coals, well, your temperature starts to drop. So you don't have a constant temperature setting. You actually go with a high heat, and then you're starting to cook with a lower heat, and as you cook, it gets lower and lower and lower. Unless, of course, you're adding more fuel to the fire. We're not going to add any extra fuel. This is just a very simple frozen pizza. It was predominantly thawed out when we put it in there. So all we're having to do now is just heat it, melt the cheese, and then we're going to eat it. That's as simple as it gets. I'm looking forward to it. And I think it's about ready. It's been about 7 to 8 minutes right now. Alright folks, it has been about 10 minutes. I think that the pizza, the crust itself, is done enough, but I want to make sure that that top actually melts the cheese just a bit and gives it a little bit of a brownish type of crust. So I'm going to give this another 2 to 3 minutes, and then we're going to open it up for the first time and see what it looks like. Believe it or not, I smell pizza. And it's still sizzling just a bit, just from the coals sitting here on top. So I think it's time to go ahead and take a peek. Or maybe this is actually the final product. I'm going to put these coals back in the fire. Blow the top off again. Let all these white ashes settle down just a bit. Take a look at it here. Oh. Now that looks like some nice crusted pizza. Ooh, let me zoom in just a bit. Get the camera just right here. Zoom in some more. Oh, what y'all think? I think that pizza is done. Now we got to take it out. But I'm going to let it cool down just a bit. Ain't quite cooled down yet. The mosquitoes are starting to bite out here, and I don't have any bug spray out here at Manland just yet. Not for me anyway. But what I've done is I have drilled 2 holes inside this stainless steel insert, my little miniature pot as I call it, that sits inside the Stanley. And what happens is when it sits down there, it kind of wedges inside the Stanley. And I usually take some needle nose pliers and reach down there and grab it by the edge, and I'll pull it out. Well, today I went and made myself a little quick bail. Drill some holes out here and over here on this side where I can get this bail in there. But this wire is mighty daggum stiff and doesn't quite work like a fish spreader like I want it to, but it will work. And I'm going to give this an attempt, as hot as it is, and it's still mighty hot. I'm going to go ahead and attach this side here. Yep. There's a much better way to do this, folks. Now, I gotta get this thing here where it works better. Hold on. Let's push this in just a bit. Here we go. Attempt number 2. My bail wire, as stiff as it is, isn't quite spongy enough. And this is not a perfected technique yet. Now, we finally got it. But because my wire, or my bail here, wants to spread out, it catches on the side. So now, I've got to reach and squeeze in just a bit to remove this. And now we have an actual bail to remove that centerpiece. And that's a very sturdy bail there. Now here's this little insert, the stainless steel insert with this bail attached. Once it's attached, it's a very sturdy bail. We could actually use this as a miniature cook pot, but it sits on the inside, not on the outside back end. So it's going to be very difficult to put a lid in there. But this is the design I had to do for the Stanley, just because of the way it sits down in there. And I think you've seen that. So anyway, this is just improvised right here. And let's take a look at the pizza. Let's see. Yeah, can actually hold it now. Reach in there with our fingers, and wow, check out the bottom of that pizza. Not burnt this time. I'm impressed. And oh, the top. It's nice. Let me see if I can get me a thumbnail shot here. Give it a taste test. Ooh, that same piece of paper towel I used to wrap it in. Yeah, I had to wrap it up. It's got some heat to this thing, man. It's gnarly hot, but not burnt. And I've shown it already. I'm just showing it again. There's no camera tricks here, and no video edit to make it look anything otherwise. I did do this technique once before, and that pizza that I cooked before didn't turn out so good. Not because of the technique, because it was some nasty pizza, and it came from the Dollar General store. I'm not knocking the product. It was only $1. This right here came from the Dollar Tree. It's a pack of 3, and it's Red Baron. That's a big difference in the taste of pizza, especially store-bought, frozen, shall we say. Well, we're getting ready to give it a bite down. I'm sniffing because it smells so daggone good. It don't smell nothing like pine, and I use pine wood to cook this with. Yeah, so you can cook on pine. I've been saying that in most of my videos. Every time you see me cook, predominantly I have pine. You just don't want to cook directly. Put your pizza or whatever it is you're cooking directly above, pine. If you do, you want to make sure it burns down to coals, like you cooking a steak or something. But even then, it still kind of wants to give you a little pine saw flavor. Let's give this right here a little taste test. Oh, and by the way, now I can officially say, yes, I have indeed cooked pizza inside the Stanley Adventure Camp Cook Set. Ha! Ha ha! Still a bit warm, which is a good thing. Because if it was cold out here right there, I would appreciate this warmth. But not right now. It's hot. Out here and here. Oh. But the cheese has got some good cheesiness. Pepperoni. This isn't the supreme. That was well worth between the 10 to the 15 minutes using predominantly coals from the pine wood, not the actual open flame. Let me show you the Stanley while I eat. There's very, very little, still kind of shiny on the bottom, which we didn't cook on the bottom, we cooked around the sides. We got very little soot, or as I like to call it, smut. And that's from pine. Just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. That's the difference, cooking on coals versus an actual open flame. Open flames, you're trying to heat water up, or trying to cook something really quick, like a soup, a stew. You may want to do a low simmer, but you need an open flame. That's the difference right there between cooking with an actual open flame versus coals. But you saw a little open flame there in the video. It was very small. I dropped a piece of pepperoni. So there you have it, folks. Amateur artist Mark D. Chandler once again from Man Land, wishing you and y'all a very happy YouTube experience out there. And remember this, is it possible to cook pizza inside the Stanley Adventure Camp Cook Set? Yes, it very well is possible. And it's tasty too. You just can't cook a lot at one time.